Hi. In this video, I want to discuss about the latest debt trap diplomacy that Chinese government deploys under its projects. So we have seen that China has lately deployed a lot of projects, and the most prominent of it is the One Belt and One Road project, which has been going on around Central Asia, Europe, and also along the Indian Ocean region. So we have seen that China, through this project, has deployed its debt trap diplomacy, or in other words, or in political terms, it can be termed as coercive diplomacy. So, what specifically is debt trap diplomacy? Debt trap diplomacy is a specific uh, nature of diplomacy in which China bombards a huge amount of soft loans to the nations which uh, Chinese government is actually investing in its projects under One Belt and One Road. So we have seen that when the national governments uh, gets an assurance that it will get a huge amount of soft loans, then mm, the next optimism that arises is that the fiscal stability and inflation will be stabilized in these governments. But this optimism is very short because we have seen that once a particular phase ends, a different picture of debt trap diplomacy arises altogether. And this different picture is that the Chinese government actually uh, indirectly tends to control the equity of the projects under which it is actually investing its soft loans. In other words, we have to see that under the debt trap diplomacy and the soft loans through which China is investing in these nations, there are certain hidden contracts or hidden agreements which is not directly visible when these agreements were actually being signed. Because when this agreement were signed at the earlier phases, there were a huge amount of optimism that the projects will both enable national economic development and also create a sort of uh, money infusion through the soft loans that will be generated. And hence, the national governments initially become optimistic in this regard and disregard certain hidden cues which are actually uh, been not so much observable across the contracts. But after a specific phase of time, we can see that these hidden cues get quite evident, and eventually the Chinese government can and has been mm, controlling the projects through the control of the majority shareholder or the stakeholdership of these projects. And one such example is the case of Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, we have seen that China has initially invested hugely in the Hambantota port. And in the initial years, China has given a lot of soft loans to the Sri Lankan government. But there were certain hidden contractual obligations which were not observable during that period of time. But after a short period of time, we have seen that China has eventually uh, gained the maximum stakeholdership of the port. So now the main concern arises. As we have seen that where China controls the maximum stakeholdership of the port, and the port which have such a strategic nature, such as the Hambantota port, then it can be said that all the cargo deployment can be controlled indirectly by the Chinese government. And once the Chinese government controls this, the infusion and the inflow and outflow of cargo, then it can be seen that China is indirectly controlling the sea route in and around Sri Lankan coast. So now it has various geostrategic implications too, because we have seen that through the control of the sea route, China can and has been can thus and has been hiddenly passing various submarines of people's of Chinese People's Navy, uh, which lately have been detected by the Indian Navy, and it has created a huge amount of concern across Indian Ocean. So this is the hidden cues of the contracts, which is not actually evident at the initial phases. But lately we have seen that the national leaders have been awakened in this regard. And two such examples are the leadership of the Malaysian Prime Minister, who have lately publicly declared that it wants a recheck of the infrastructural projects that it has signed with China 2 to 3 years ago. And the same is happening in the case of Sri Lanka, who have said that it completely wants to withdraw from Chinese infrastructural projects, and hence there is a sort of optimism in this regard, and this optimism specifically is fitted for India's own infrastructural interest, because we have seen that India is a primary competitor of infrastructural projects across Indian Ocean region. But the limitation of India is that it do not have a huge amount of infrastructural equity as of China towards um, towards investing in the various infrastructural projects in Indian Ocean region. And one such example is that India is losing in the initial contractual competitions in Maldives. But lately, with the recent awakening of the national leaders regarding the debt trap situation, the Chinese government uh, coercively deploys, these national leaders are seeking towards alternative options, and India is a very viable option in this regard. So, considering all this situation, there is a renewed optimism that India can get a lot regarding infrastructural investability in Indian Ocean region. So it is a very positive regard in India, and in at this specific point of time, I can only say this much, because it is a very dynamic concept and not much has been happening till date. So thank you in this regard. Thank you.